All in favor?
Or is the end paying
Motion's
attention?
carried. Everybody please stand for the pledge.
Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we have all our microphones on? I guess we do. Okay, does anybody have any announcements that they want to make before we move forward? Nope.
Let's get done early so
Yes,
we
'cause-
can all get home early.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have public comment at the end because we have work to do that we just have to get done. What I'd like to do is just because Randolph is here, and it should only take 30 seconds. We all know that the last meeting we approved Randolph 2 boards to try to move forward to try to get the well, it's a local government. I'm just so used to saying citizen empowerment grant. The local government efficiency program to give us money for the consolidation we're trying to do with solar up at the landfill. The snag we hit with Central Hudson, we might have a bigger snag based on Central Hudson possibly being bought by a Canadian company, but we won't go down that road yet. So basically, Randolph did the application, which we both gave authority, both boards. He got it up to the state. And the only thing that was missing is a resolution by the village board and by the town board to go as supporting documentation for the grant. So he did send everybody a grant, a resolution. If everybody had time to read it, then would you like a copy, Stuart? You're looking perplexed.
Yes, I am.
He sent one to the village board members and to the town board members. The one I printed off is the one he wrote up for the town. Sally has the one he did for the village, which everybody got. I don't think there's any changes other than town and village being changed and interchanged. I'll let a few board members have a second to read it.
And our commitment was 21,000.
Sally, so you gotta use the microphone, so pull it in front of you.
I'll let,
Okay.
he knows what.
Not too long, you wanna get out of here.
Very briefly, I don't know if this is true at all. Very briefly, if the town and village receive a grant award, then we would restart the paused solar vendor procurement, and it will be specifically understood by the solar vendor that a fund is going to be paid to the consolidated municipal solar project, out of which both the village's share of $21,600 and the town's share of $21,600 will be paid. I don't want to say that to the Department of State, although it's perfectly legitimate, because there's a local share. Where the municipalities get their local share is strictly a business transaction between the vendor and the municipalities. We would send back the grant if the municipalities never have a solar project. So I hope I've summed it up precisely.
You did.
And I said, going into this, I said, when we were together, before I prepared the application, I said that we would arrange that there be no out-of-pocket expense for village or town. And I'm reiterating that. I just don't want to say it in writing or say it to the Department of State, even though we're within our rights. And
Good.
Madam Supervisor, Madam Chair of this meeting, allow me to say that this is informational, since each body must pass its own resolution, which I have prepared just as a draft, and it can be changed any way any of you want to. But I appended the resolution tips that kind of give the cookbook for what the resolution must say.
Mhm.
So I've drafted it, I've given the tips. You can't hurt my feelings if you change it anyway. I signed the application on pain of perjury, it says so, that what I submitted on your behalf was factual and truthful. So that's where we are. And
So in other words, you go to jail, not me.
well, everything I wrote was factual and truthful. So allow me to note that this is informational only.
Right.
And that because each entity must act individually, that this is just reinforcement of the email I sent to each elected official saying these are the draft resolutions.
Does anybody have a problem with the resolutions as written? So do the village board want to make a motion on behalf of the village?
I want to first thank Jim Littlefoot and I will circulate his letter in support of the project. I received it in my mailbox, and so I don't think the rest of the board has seen it. But thank you, Jim, wherever you are.
Jim was here. Oh, Jim is back there.
Oh, back there, hiding behind the podium. Thank you, Jim.
But explain a little bit more why you're thanking him, because it's not just he wrote a
Well,
letter in
he's
support.
supporting our doing.
Well, he actually was the one who did the research and found the grant in the first
And
place.
it
So it's
says
the work of
town
Jim.
will save over
Cat, to Sally into the microphone.
Okay. I was just gonna circulate this. He projects that the town will save over $250,000 per year on all electrical usage on all town-owned buildings, including Moriella Pool and the police department. Okay? If and should the town change all their 150 street poles to LED savings alone, the town would save $20,000, okay? He doesn't have the figures for the village, and so his projections are based on the stats that he had for the town and for the school district. So, okay?
But Jim also was the one who found the grant and got in touch with Randolph so we could try to facilitate getting over the hump with Central Hudson.
Yep.
So thank you, Jim, for your due diligence and
Yes.
all the work that you've done. And thank you, Randolph, for all the work that you've been doing on behalf of this community. And so Sally or Ariano or somebody,
Mariana's gonna move.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
sure, she's going to ask a question before.
Randolph, in this resolution, you outlined the fact that Central Hudson is requiring a rather large payment to tie into their system, correct? And that's the $422,000 figure?
Yes,
And that was not something that was anticipated at the time we first discussed this project, correct?
But when it arose, that's why we paused the project.
Right, I understand
until
that.
we find a resolution.
In addition to the 422, there's an additional $10,000 fee that's required under New York State Public Service Commission regulations, correct? So the total is 432,000.
And that's the figure that I quoted to the Department of State.
And your grant application will be for what amount?
$200,000 for the town and $200,000 for the village. That's the maximum under this program. If we receive a grant award of any amount, then we would go back and restart the procurement process and find out if the vendors are willing to defray the expense. The town and the village will have no expense in this matter.
Well, we have a matching figure here, that we have to pay a total of $21,600 each, correct?
That would be the match in the grant process if there's a grant award. And what I just explained at this end of the table is when we restart the procurement process, we're going to tell the vendors all the items that they have to pay for.
Right, but my question
Yes.
is, the town's commitment, assuming we get a $200,000 grant, would be $21,600.
Yes,
Okay, and if you get the grant money, you can always go back to Central Hudson and ask them to
Negotiate.
take the lower amount,
negotiate.
correct?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
The figure of 10,000 for a CSER, a Coordinated Electric Service Interconnection Report, is actually half what they charge us for the Esopus project. But this is a simpler interconnection, and I would hold in negotiating, should we get to that point together, I would hold in negotiating that they had a learning curve on the first study, and that they could reiterate that study for half. So the bottom line is, it may be that everything connected with Central Hudson might be negotiated down, but because Mr. Littlefoot found the opportunity, and because in reading it, I saw that each municipality could ask for the maximum of 200, I went ahead and put in. If the state comes back and says we'll give each municipality 150 or 125, then we have a cornerstone, and then we can look at two things. One, negotiating with Central Hudson, and two, how much the vendor is willing to pay.
So are we authorizing you to go ahead then apply for this grant?
He already did. We already authorized him to apply for it.
But you need a resolution to
The two
support
boards
it.
authorized it. He already got it in by the deadline. The only thing that was missing is with the two boards passing the resolution that goes along with the grant.
Kevin,
Is the resolution authorizing you to apply or something more?
no. The draft resolution is in essence a compendium which memorializes that these two boards meeting jointly, given the exigencies of time, told me on the 28th of February in a board action and a board vote to proceed. We've memorialized that earlier action, but the heart of the resolution that each entity will pass is sponsoring the application and authorizing and committing to the local share should there be an award. And before you meet to discuss your resolution in regular order, I have another folder for each of you that is the whole file of everything I did. My rush was just to let you know for the purpose of this joint meeting, what the path ahead, how the path ahead will lie. So you should have, Councilman, my complete file of this activity before you vote that binding resolution.
I know that.
All right, and you're gonna have it.
So, but for purposes of tonight to get this,
This is informational only.
the resolution is information, you don't need this.
No, he does.
I'm gonna leave it up to these.
Wait, Randolph,
trying to
you're
get
getting
it-
a little confusing.
Yeah.
You put an application in that we authorized both boards for you to do.
Yes,
In order to make the application complete, you need these resolutions by the two boards.
yes. And
Okay.
If you can vote them both in tonight, all well and good. If they have to wait until regular order, all fine.
But that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to help you.
Yes, thank you.
So it's three parts then? One is a resolution confirming the town is sponsoring an application
Yes.
for a grant for its solar initiative.
Yes, the town and the village, each, yes. But you're reading on the basis of the town's participation.
And that is in here where it says, whereas at a regularly scheduled town and village consolidation planning meeting on February 28th, the village mayor and trustees and the town board jointly authorized Consolidated Municipal Project Manager Randolph Horner to prepare and submit a local government efficiency grant application on behalf of the municipalities and appointed Project Manager Horner to act as lead applicant contact person to execute all financial and/or administrative process relating to the implementation of the program in accordance with the DOS grant application.
And then
So-
the second piece is going to be, and the town agrees to pay its local share up to $21,600?
Correct, which is
With-
half of 10%, in other words, 5% of the total of $432,000.
And that's where it says, be it resolved, in the event that a DOS grant award is made to the town in support of its participation in the Consolidation Municipal Solar Project, the town is committed to contributing a 10% local share, which would be $21,600.
And you need those two things, and that's it.
I think that covers it, but I made the resolution correspond in every detail to the resolution tips, which I sent,
Which is right here.
which
see
is the
that.
cookbook for how to have a complete resolution. So I
Okay.
lifted each of those tenets.
Then we're gonna work on a resolution then for next week.
No, if we
How?
pass this
How are we
tonight,
gonna pass this? It's not even in final form.
it's in final form. All you have to
No,
do is,
Madam Chair, I'm perfectly content. Listen, let me say.
Rand, it doesn't matter what you're particularly, I understand that, I appreciate it. Can you let us have a talk for a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
If you wanna pass this tonight, then the whereas that you read should be a resolve section.
The one that says,
Yes.
whereas,
It shouldn't be whereas. You can say whereas, but it has to be resolved as well.
so you want this to
It
be
is on ours.
where yours?
Ours is be it resolved that in the event that a DOS grant award of 200,000 is
Yeah.
made to the village.
Yeah,
in
no,
support
we
of
have,
the
we have that. I
participation.
think Kevin's saying that we should make, resolved at the regularly scheduled town and village
Right.
consolidation meeting, we jointly authorized. But I don't know if that's a resolve, Kevin. We already took that action.
But he's looking for a resolution confirming that
Okay, so
fact.
change that to resolved.
So you can say, you can recite that in the whereas. I think you just have to move it down as the first paragraph
I
in
know
the
what you're
resolve
saying.
section.
Okay.
Madam Chair, let me just
Yeah,
say,
he's just
they absolutely require that we
moving this down.
return the resolutions by April the 10th.
I understand that.
Okay,
Why, you know what, we're trying to do it tonight, can you just let us do it? And stop standing in the way, okay? Because otherwise I'm gonna rip it up and not do it. Okay, so please, we're trying to get it done and you're making it harder,
And
okay?
it's 5% from the village and 5% for the town for a total of 10%.
There we go. Is that true?
Well, 10%
Ten-
of 400,000,
That is true.
It is true.
he does,
Okay.
the resolution is incorrectly worded.
Okay,
Okay, so
so,
you'll make that correction? Do you want to, look, we could do it Thursday night, you guys could do it,
we can do it tonight, too. if you
thank you
want.
very much. We can do it
You
tonight
want to move it for the village?
with the corrections as amended.
Move the resolution as correct.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that to move this as correct, as amended, whereas the project funding request from the Village of New Paltz under DOS RFA number, it's all in here. You don't have to write everything down, is $200,000 with the total request for the municipalities being $400,000. Now therefore be it resolved that, and we're gonna move that
Yes.
down.
It's
at-
gonna, I think, Ariana, I think it'll say.
At
be
the
it resolved-
regularly scheduled Village and Town
Right.
Consolidation Planning meeting on February 28th, the village mayor and trustees and the town board jointly authorized Consolidated Municipal Project Manager Randolph Horner to prepare and submit a local government efficiency grant application on behalf of the municipalities, and appointed Project Manager Horner to act as lead applicant contact person to execute all financial and/or administrative processes relating to the implementation of the program in accordance with the DOS grant application Appendix B1. And be it resolved that in the event that a DOS grant award of $200,000 is made to the village in support of its participation in the consolidated municipal solar project, the village is committed to contributing a 5% local share, which would be $21,600.
No, it'd be 10,000, whatever 5% of that is, right?
No, if the
10,800.
10%
No. If the total's 400,000,
Then we.
then it's
are-
200,000 each, so it's
Okay.
20
Yep.
each.
All right, keep going.
And that the village is the co-applicant and the lead applicant is the town of New Paltz, and that in the event of a grant award, the village and town of New Paltz shall enter into a municipal agreement, an intermunicipal agreement, in order to support. In support of the consolidated municipal solar electricity project, and that the village clerk shall,
Town clerk,
the town, oh, it says village.
because we're in joint.
Okay. And the town clerk shall record and certify the vote of the town board on this resolution.
Village
On
board.
the village board.
Oh.
The town clerk. See, we reversed it.
It
Yeah.
should be joint board.
Well, he wants
Joint
one from each,
boards.
he need, yeah, okay.
Joint
Joint
boards.
boards.
Because it's a joint meeting.
Okay. Who
Okay.
As
seconded?
amended.
Do you want me to? Oops, sorry, sorry.
She moved it. All right, on a roll call.
All in favor?
No,
I,
no, we're doing roll call.
I know.
Stuart? Brian? Ariana?
I,
Sally? Yes. Okay. so roll
Okay.
call.
Would somebody like to move the resolution on behalf of the town with the same,
I'd like to move the resolution incorporating the whereas clause that Ariana read, tailored to the town. And no further amendments are required at that point.
Jim, would you like to second it?
Second.
Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Resolutions are done by both boards, Randolph.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it moving ahead now. As I go out the door, this has been done, it's a done deal, but
We have to get the resolutions to you for them to be included in the packet.
there needs to be a separate resolution from each entity. It says that on.
I
There will
understand
be.
that. They did theirs,
Okay.
they did theirs. We'll take care of getting two resolutions
But
to you.
it should, the vote should be recorded and certified as if the boards met. in
Rosanna's
separate-
got
Rosanna, Rosanna's
Not
shaking,
already.
Rosanna understands that.
Done
And
it before. It's all right,
I know
Randolph.
everybody understands, I want to do my
Thank you.
job of.
No,
relaying
we,
what
we,
they told
we
me.
appreciate that.
Thank you
okay.
very much, and to all a good night.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
before we get into the discussion, I'll move.
Sally, can you just do me a favor and please,
I'll move the minutes to approve.
I don't have any minutes.
if you want to do that really quickly,
Let's get it done.
no, we can, I
I
just have a
said
couple
I
of.
don't have any.
Have them, they're right here.
Oh,
Okay, the only, I do have a couple of corrections on the February 21st one. In the paragraph in public comment, where it says, villages were historically rooted in 17th century and consolidation has been a concern for many years. The research center at SUNY was asked by the town and village to provide funds to revisit the issue. I don't think the research center was asked to provide funds, was it? It was asked to provide guidance in obtaining funds?
You mean Creo?
Yeah,
Well, since none of us were here except Kitty, my understanding is that Creo approached the village board. At least that's what the newspaper article at the time talked about.
well, all I'm just saying is it says it was asked by the town and village to provide funds to revisit the issue. I don't think Creo was asked to fund the study that got funded by the state.
No.
So I just think it was maybe to help,
Creo-
to help
yes.
provide funds or to help,
Okay.
I'm just saying the way it says it says that
Okay,
Creo was
let's-
asked to give the
Let's
money.
get this very clear. The town and the village paid a grants person in the personage of Nikki Koenig, okay? Creo was involved in the initial discussions and they withdrew.
Okay, regardless,
So
What it
that may
said-
clarify for you.
all I'm just saying is what it says in the minutes that we're about to approve. The research center at SUNY was asked by the town and village to provide funds to revisit the
I
issue.
think that's incorrect.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
They were asked for guidance.
Okay,
They wanted to do the study and they withdrew, according to the New Paltz Times.
okay. But anyway, so they were asked to provide guidance to revisit the issue. I just want to change the word because it wasn't funds.
I
So-
wasn't here, so I can't swear.
Okay, but they were never asked to pay for the,
No,
okay, so I just want that one correction. And then, I'm pretty sure right over here in public comment, and Don Kerr's in the audience, but where it says, KT Tobin asked if tonight's meeting was properly noticed. She was happy to hear that people are distancing themselves from the Finance Committee report, which isn't true, but she also indicated that she was worried about taxation without representation. That was actually Don Kerr who said he was concerned about taxation without representation, not KT. Did she say that after you said it?
But she did say that.
She said it, and then you commented about it?
I said that's what KT was talking about when she said.
Okay, okay. And then the only other thing, okay, where it says everyone worked very hard and they were standing by, the Supervisor Zimmet responded that tonight's meeting was announced at the last joint meeting on January 30th, and the town clerk properly notified the newspapers. She also indicated she was not distancing herself from the finance report. Everyone worked very hard and they are standing, where it says standing by the numbers as a reflection of their values. Just it said, other than the $300,000 for the police savings, every finance committee stands by the numbers as a reflection of their values, so I just, that caveat was in there. And other than that, I'm okay with the minutes for February 21st. So I'll second based with these corrections. Any other comments? All
well,
in
I
favor?
wasn't here, so I can't comment.
Well, you moved
The
it.
21st. So I'd like to.
Yes, you were absent, that's right. So maybe you should withdraw your motion.
I didn't move it.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I just said, let's do the
Oh,
minutes.
okay. I'm sorry. I would like to move the minutes with that correction. Do I have a second?
second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so
Aye.
carried. And it's 28th,
I'll move those.
the only, well, actually, I think there's another confusion, and maybe I'm wrong, and this will be up to Jean and Stuart to correct. A motion was made by Councilman Barry to solicit a proposal from Squire Sanders to provide a proposal for their cost in supplying and complying with the legal aspects of the documentation for this project by March 15, seconded by Trustee Glenn for discussion. Councilwoman Galucci indicated that the board should request proposals from the three firms that are known to have the most expertise on consolidation to enact the Citizen Empowerment Act. Trustee Bosco made a friendly amendment. Council Barry amended the amendment to include 3 to 4 firms. All ayes, votes cast, motion carried. I don't think you made that motion, Jean, but I just want to clarify. I
No,
think Stuart made the,
No, I made a motion that we should include, initially Squire Sanders was not included as getting a new proposal from them. It was other law firms that we
Yeah.
wanted proposals from. And I did say that Squire Sanders needs to be included because the boards had already authorized getting the accounting portion from another firm, and that the original proposal from Squire Sanders
okay,
included accounting in it.
okay, so the way this is phrased, you're okay.
Um, I don't think that was Squire I think that was someone else, but I don't.
But that's why I'm asking before we approve.
Because I made the statement to include Squire Sanders.
That's what,
Right, which is not the way it's
So,
written.
I don't know
and
what firm Kevin was recommending.
No, Kevin made a recommendation to
he
hire
made a
Squire Sanders.
recommendation to go for 3
Stuart wanted to
proposals.
open it up to more people.
Susan, he made the
Right.
proposal for 3, she included Squire Sanders, it's
No,
reversed.
actually, it started, Jeff made the motion for Squire Sanders, Kevin seconded the motion for Squire Sanders.
That's
We
not
had a
what this is.
discussion, Stuart wanted to open it up, Kevin withdrew his motion, and then that's when then Jean said that Squire Sanders has to do a new proposal, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but Jeff Logan isn't here at all.
Well, regardless, that's how it went down, but that's not what that paragraph says.
I don't think it was, the additional firms were identified that evening
No, they
as
weren't.
to who would be invited
Right.
No, they
to
weren't.
make offers, and I think that you were gonna follow that up and see who they were, which you
Right.
did, so.
No, I understand that, I'm just
No,
saying the way it's
Susan is
phrased.
saying-
Okay, to solicit proposals.
Do you want to just make the motion with us amending that and giving it to Rosanna later versus us doing it right now?
Well, I didn't make that motion, Councilman.
I know you
Barry.
didn't, that's why I want this to be corrected.
A motion was made by Councilman Barry to solicit proposals.
Mhm.
To proposals.
Well, he made a motion to hire Squire and Sanders.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Jeff
Jeff made the
Logan
motion,
made
Jeff made
that,
the motion to
and
hire
that's
Squire and
not here.
Sanders. Kevin seconded it. Then Stuart, we had discussion, Stuart wanted to open it up. Kevin withdrew his motion, and then a motion was made by someone to solicit 3 proposals, 3 to 5 proposals, of which was left open for us to research.
I have a suggestion.
Why don't
Look
we-
at the tape and correct the minutes.
Or,
wording.
or go back to the written notes. So
Yeah.
put these on hold.
Okay, so
That would be my recommendation
okay,
too,
so if you want to do that, we'll do that, and I'll go back and correct them, and we'll bring them forward for the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so then we won't approve those.
So you need to, whoever moved it needs to take, I did, I'll withdraw. I'll withdraw my motion.
Good job, Sal.
Trying,
Okay, so now you want to get into the meat and potatoes?
yeah.
Okay, so we, somebody like to,
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second,
any discussion?
Non-pro-tunc.
Does anybody want to amend the agenda, because it's not in the right order? Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, so now all that's left is adjourning. No, I'm kidding.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
Me too.
Snowing. Let's go.
Okay, so we got our proposal for O'Connor and Davis. We got a proposal from, CGR, Jacobowitz and Gubitz, Squire and Sanders, Tarshish, Katina,
Catania.
Tanya.
Laberth, Mahone, and Milgram. And that's who we got the proposals from, right?
So we got
J-
4
Jacobitz and
responses
Gubitz,
out of
right?
6
Four.
requests.
1, 2, 3,
5.
4,
Oh, 4 are for legal, 1 is for accounting.
Yeah, well, that's a separate motion.
5 CGR, possibly. What we did is ask for them to give us a motion, to give us a proposal without the financial stuff, but then also to do a second to add the financial, because Ken Bond's proposal was including the finance, and he didn't take it out. And so just in case anybody wanted to see apples to apples, we asked for that second phase, just to try to cut through everything. So I guess maybe the best way to do this, I don't know, is maybe to sort of go around and ask everybody sort of their feelings about these proposals. If everybody thinks that might be the best way to do this, is that okay with everybody? Okay, so Ariana, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll start with just my favorite, which was CGR. There were a couple of things that I liked about their proposal. They seemed like they had a lot of, sorry, I like CGR. They seem like they have a lot of experience, for one, and I like that they had a flat rate. And I guess one of my big questions, and none of us can probably answer this, is how many hours will this take? Because some of them were charging an hourly rate, some of them were, well, CGR was the flat rate that I really liked. And I thought about, you know, if we took that 29,000 and divided it by 200, we would have like 145 hours. So that's, I mean, that seems like a lot of hours to me, but I have no idea how many billable hours this might take, attorneys in the room, what you might think about that. But I really just, I like them, and I kind of thought that they would give us a different perspective than the other ones, and not be people that already work for us in another capacity, which I think would please a lot of the community as well. But they were my favorites, and I guess I like Jacobowitz and Gubitz second. And it's hard. Basically, I would not want to go with O'Connor Davies or Squire Sanders.
O'Connor
Well, now,
Davies
two
is the
different
accounting
things.
function.
O'Connor is the accountant.
Although I think if you look at the CGR, each one was asked to give,
Well, they gave a fiscal. They said what they
well,
would do
I think
for
everybody
the
said, I think they all
fiscal
said
part
that
of it
they
as
would do,
well.
they were asked to break it out, so they gave, if I remember correctly, it was 29,000, which was 14,000 was for,
16.5 for the,
Kevin, use the microphone.
Yeah, it was 29 for all of
And then
it.
16.5 for the joint consolidation agreement, and 14.5 for the financial analysis.
so they did give the 16,
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
16 for the legal stuff and 14 for the finance. So you could take both
You
together,
can take one
you
or
could take one or the
either,
other.
or the other. I mean, if it were up to me alone, I would probably go with them. But I also think we should interview.
Mhm.
We should maybe pick our top two, or, I mean, there's not a whole stack here, but maybe 2 or 3, and, you know, interview them in person.
Mhm.
That's my say.
Okay, Sally?
I think CGR is very weak in the financial analysis, and given what we have heard are the questions that, and I think finances are a very big part of this, and there has to be a
Sally,
certain.
just please use the microphone.
I always forget this. Okay, I think CRG sounds like they have very good experience in the transaction part.
Yeah.
But I do not like the fact that they think they can do a financial analysis for 14,500. It just doesn't compute, given what we know about town and what we know about the village of Newport. I really think if we were a population of 1,000 in the village going with 7,000 in the town, that might work. But I do not think, and they did not give a clear definition of what they would do in terms of the financial analysis. So I am not disregarding them as transactional, but I would say we have a much better proposal from O'Connor Davies for the financial part, and I would rather have this community confident that the costs mean, when you realize what kind of analysis we have to do, I think to just, you know, it's not gonna work. So I would certainly be interested in interviewing them for the first part, but not for a financial analysis. I just don't think they cut it.
Stuart? I'm sorry, Brian, I didn't see you over there in the
Oh,
corner.
and am I supposed to
Okay.
say who I'd eliminate?
Sure,
I would eliminate Jacobitz and Gubitz.
Jacobitz.
Jacobitz and Gubitz.
Jacobowitz. Because
Do you wanna, you don't have to say why or,
In looking at it, I kind of like the idea of going with O'Connor and Davies only because they've worked for the village very well for a very long time, and we've had very good audits with them. I like CGR because it's a person who has a doctorate in studies economics, and I think that having someone look at it from a more scholarly perspective rather than looking at it from a legal eye, and I don't know, you know, I'm sorry if I'm insulting either two attorneys at the table, but
None taken.
okay, I think that would
you've been told.
that would bring an interesting perspective to it. However, to be perfectly honest, a lot of them, it all seemed the same to me, or very similar, and I thought that speaking with the other two gentlemen at the table who practice law would give me better insight into a decision tonight. So, yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it right now.
Stuart?
Well, if we're gonna split out the financial part, the auditors that we have for the village have done a really good job, and I don't think they have any horse in this race as far as whether there's consolidation or no consolidation, so I don't feel that there's bias in their part. I mean, they work for all of us, and we don't all have the same opinion about consolidation. So I think they're, you know, a fine accounting outfit. As far as the legal part, I really wouldn't have a problem if there was only one applicant and it was any of these. I wouldn't mind supporting them, but we do have more than one, so what do we do? I know the work of Tarshish and Catania and Jacobowitz and Gubitz, and I hold them in high regard. I think both firms have had experience doing, you know, merging governments and that kind of thing. That's no problem. I also know that this CGR has also, because I spoke to the supervisor of the town of Seneca Falls, and he mentioned to me that that's the firm that worked with them and things went smoothly. So they have experience also. I guess when it comes down to it, if I had to choose, and we're not going to have separate interviews, at which time then we could choose, if we were deciding tonight, I think between the Tarshish and Catania and Jacobowitz and Gubitz, they're both solid proposals, and one is a bit less expensive than the other, so since they're both good, I would go with the less expensive one, which I believe is Tarshish and Catania. But I don't feel, you know, strongly that any of these are unqualified to do this. I think we asked for firms that knew what they were doing in this regard, and I think they all know what they're doing. So I don't think we would go wrong quality-wise with any of them.
Kevin, I'll turn over to that side of the table.
Okay, well, we have, Jacobitz and Gubitz represents the town already, correct? And they represent them at the
Planning
planning
board.
board level. Tarshish does not represent the town in any matters, correct?
Right.
All right.
They used to, well, the particular person, let me see if I have this right. The particular person who put the bid in for Tarshish was the village attorney at one time.
Okay.
But that was a while ago.
Well, It appears that CGR from paper has the most experience. It appears that the Tarshish firm also has experience with some form of government consolidation, whether it was consolidating police departments or other municipal functions within towns and villages. Squires and Sanders, from what they gave me, I can't tell exactly, what their experience has been other than what Ken has said. They have a lot of experience with villages, counties, and towns, just like some of these other firms have. In terms of cost, I like a flat fee. But oftentimes, when you have a flat fee, you end up occasionally with insufficient work because the one quote for 16.5 or whatever it is not much time spent on this at all. It just doesn't seem realistic to me. And you're asking about the time that it would take just drafting the agreement itself for a firm that's never drafted an agreement like this before, because I think what Squires and Sanders is saying is true, that this kind of government doesn't exist in New York State yet. So when they're writing this agreement, they're going to have to think about putting in provisions that don't exist right now in terms of a form. So I would think that that hiring a firm that's going to quote a flat fee as little as that, it scares me. Getting back to what it might cost to write an agreement like that, it could be 50 hours of time by the time you're done easy. And I would say 100 hours at the top side.
Okay.
And
I
so,
think the reason for that is because there's going to be back and forth among the
There's gonna
boards. It's
be-
not going to just be you write it and here
No.
it is. It's not over.
no,
the
it's,
beginning.
I'll bet you there's 25 drafts of the agreement by the time it's done, when it's
We have
finalized.
one in our packets
Well,
from the original efficiency committee,
okay.
if anybody has bothered to look.
So I would like to have an interview with 3 firms. That's what I'd like to do next. I can't pick a firm from what I have gotten in front of me tonight and reviewed. And I would like the Tarshish firm. I would like to talk to the people at CRG. And I would like to give Mr. Bond an opportunity to see if he can convince us to hire his firm. So those 3 I would recommend.
I'm sorry, Kevin, just that again, Tarshish?
Tarshish, is it CGR and
It's
Squire
just
Sanders.
okay for Tarshish.
And I would be fine with splitting off the financial and going with the firm that the village has used in the past. I'd be fine with that,
I can support that.
because they're already familiar with the village finances, and it might be more efficient for us using somebody that's familiar rather than relearning everything.
Jean?
Well, I actually have a question. Okay. I actually have a question, and Sally, did you prepare the thing for O'Connor Davies?
I wrote
Okay.
the draft.
So my question is, when I read it, it seems that they're prepared to meet with the steering committee as opposed to
I
the
think
umbrella
one must
committee.
be the umbrella committee.
Do you think they do mean that they will be at numerous meetings with the board? Because it says, we will meet with the steering committee.
Yes, that-
So that's one question I had.
Okay, I can answer that.
Okay.
I think I can answer it. Okay. They're assuming that there is
Sally,
nothing. We would like you to present your proposal to the joint boards. So they're using steering committee
Well,
in
the
a way that we didn't define.
Well, maybe not. I mean, when it says they'll give their proposals to the joint boards, but they might be thinking it's not like.
They may be looking for a smaller group.
Oh, I think they
They may
probably,
be.
I think they
But
probably
it
are.
sounded like, in this proposal, it sounded like They were meeting, a steering committee.
Here's the letter that was sent.
Yeah.
Okay.
then you'll see.
And here's the proposal. And it sounded to me like they thought they're meeting with a steering committee, and then they'll put the meat together and give it to the boards.
No,
That's all.
but that, read the letter and you will see.
No, I know what,
Yeah,
no,
but Susan signed it, so
no,
she
I
doesn't-
understand that, but the
what
point is
letter
she,
says
it's
in-
right.
It's in the
Right.
proposal.
Right, but I'm saying they may be looking for a smaller committee.
Well, we can certainly check that out. My
Okay.
sense is they probably are looking for a smaller committee, because in order to get the work done in the manner, and they were very serious about the time constraint, the 3 months, the deadline, working. In order for them to do the work that they need, they can't worry about every time we have a joint meeting and deal with the joint board. It probably does have to be a smaller steering committee to help in terms of meeting all the time to do and get the work, they're gonna need a lot of information. They're gonna need, instead of calling the bookkeeper, they can't call the town bookkeeper. They have to go through me, because I have to manage, if she's doing her
Yeah.
annual report, you have to prioritize.
I
So I
would
suspect that's what they're saying.
Jean, that with the exception of you, none of us are capable of addressing the auditor's concern from the standpoint of finances. So I would think they would want to meet with Jason, Nancy, Susan, and I'd put you in there because you've been in both places. And that, to my mind, would be fine, because they're going to look for a certain expertise and knowledge about town finances, village finances, that we don't have. So I think that's what they're looking for. From their proposal. So yes, you are definitely, I will move to have
Okay.
Jean on the steering committee.
No, so then I would have to say, if that's really, so I'm unclear, I have to say, about O'Connor Davies, and I have worked with them, and they're very good, but I'm unclear, because then I have to say that as a board member, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, because it is all of us who have this task to design this plan for our constituents. And I do not want any of the board members or employees ending up in the same position that they ended up with after the Finance Committee
Yeah.
report,
Good
okay?
point.
So I'm uncomfortable with that.
Well, we
So we're gonna have to work on that solution. But, so like Ariana, the first one I started reading was CGR. And I really, I thought it sounded good. But then I kept going, and I have to say, CGR, like Kevin said, the price is low. I got to the rest of the prices. The accountability says 100 to 150 hours. So if you concentrate on that, we're talking 20 to 30,000 for legal only, add in 40,000 for financial. So you're talking about $60,000, $70,000 anyway. Then, although CGR also has a lot of experience with shared services. And then the other firms, Tarshish, Jacobowitz and Gubitz, they were pushing their municipal experience. And I think that, yeah, even Squire Sanders, this is not something that's commonly done. Yes, you can look at shared services. Yes, you can try to consolidate municipal services. But really, the only one that actually said and spoke to me, New Paltz is different. New Paltz has a SUNY. New Paltz's village is an urban area. It's what makes it different about a consolidation. And the only firm that spoke to that was Squire Sanders. And I feel that they have a better understanding, really walking into this, that we are not, Seneca Falls was the one that was completely the opposite. They had that, the landfill, the village residents were just dying under the taxation. And that is not relative to us as a village and a town at all, that process. We do have a very urban village, not a sleepy little joint, okay? It's throbbing. We do have a SUNY. We have cultural affairs. We have actively participating constituents. It's really thriving, and I felt that the only one who got that was Squire Sanders. And if you all remember, I was the only one who voted against removing the fiscal, and I feel that that could create a chasm where the legal and the financial may not make a smooth transition, and they may not get one another when they're trying to put it together in the end. So, Squire Sanders, to me, if you added up the monies on all the other ones, I think they'll come to 70,000 anyway. Squire Sanders says 75,000 all-inclusive. I think there might be cost overruns on the other ones. 2 of them are an hourly rate, so we're not going to get a flat rate. Like Kevin said, the flat rate on the CGR, I think it's awfully low for our type of business, considering we are different. And so that's what really moved me, was that only one letter spoke to the uniqueness of New Paltz. And that's Mr.
Then I guess it was me, huh?
And then there was one.
I'm not going to give my opinion, so.
Oh.
So,
So
no.
does everybody want, does anybody want to have a chat?
Yeah,
Do you want
I'll
interview?
throw something in here, you know.
Okay.
I think it would be, she's going to.
I don't know if I
She's
will. If I
going
give
to.
my opinion, then that'll be the whole story, and that'll take the controversy, and then we won't be able to have a discussion, so it's better for me
Just ask
to.
them,
Susan,
don't
Susan.
write about Susan.
You can write about me, I don't care. I'm
Just-
not going to give them the opportunity
I want to
to.
know your opinion.
Go ahead, Susan.
To Jean's point, I know that maybe synthesizing the report from the legal and the financial aspects or perspectives may be difficult, and it might be easier to have one company doing both. However, in this particular case, given the uniqueness of New Paltz, and given the importance of the financial component, I would like to see them run in parallel instead of with the same firm. I would like the separate accounting firm to work up the fiscal part of it so that it's independent of the legal work that will be done by the firm that's putting together this agreement. I think it's a nice check and balance in a way.
Let me just ask a quick question, though. What happens if?
I'm not sure it's a check and balance at all. I think it's a coordinated effort, and Ken Bond himself sat here and said that he has worked with O'Connor Davies. So if I were to be moved by what Jean said, I would insist that the accounting firm has to be O'Connor Davies, inclusive in that 75,000.
Rather than a firm picked by Squires and Sanders that's not familiar with New
We're
Paltz.
picking the firm, and they,
My point, I think we're saying the same thing, Sally. I'd prefer to have a separate accounting firm doing that work, rather than, say, Squires and Sanders and a CPA they hire to do that work. I'd rather pick the accounting firm the village has used, and then pick another firm to do the legal.
I know that what Ken had said, which is why he only gave a proposal for everything inclusive, because he didn't feel he wanted to break it out for a lot of the reasons Jean said, that, you know, you have a citizen empowerment law, you're acting according to the law, that they would work on the finance, and if they needed to go outside, they would go outside, you know, to bring somebody in if they needed it. So we're not going to get them to give us a, you know, if we decide to do with O'Connor Davis, they're not going to, they'll just respectfully decline, and we'll go pick somebody else. whether it's feasible in a sense, I do know O'Connor Davis called Squire Sanders when we put this out, because they were a little surprised, because they really thought Ken had been working with the village. And just so everybody is very, very clear, it's not just myself who's been calling him for the past year. Jason, the mayor, and Joe Ariel, you know, the attorney for the village, have called Ken, Ken Bond over the year to ask questions also relative to how to move forward, you know, what are some of the laws, what do we have to do? And I was on a conference call with Jason and Ken, and Joe Ariel was, I think, on that call, when we were asking a lot of questions, how to proceed legally. So I just want you to understand, we've both been speaking with him.
Who set up that call?
The one with
Yeah,
Ken?
conference call.
I set the call up because I had questions to, wait a second, Brian, there's more to it.
Okay.
No, I set the call up. Wait, Brian.
I'm just-
No, you didn't let me finish answering the
I'm
question.
listening,
Okay, well,
I'm
you sat
listening.
back so I couldn't see.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I
go ahead.
set the call up, and then when I got on the call, I found out that Ken had invited Jason to be a part of the call, because they had met and had breakfast to talk about all this stuff, and he didn't want to leave Jason out, and I was calling to just ask specific questions relative to citizen, you know, to clarify myself, and so, but Ken invited Jason to be on the phone call. Okay, so Jason was on the call, I was on the call, I think Nancy Bracco was on the call, and you were on the call,
Oh,
Sally?
no.
No,
I was
okay,
not.
so then it was just myself, Jason, Nancy, and Ken,
Mhm.
if I remember, and you weren't on the call, were you, Jean? So yeah, it was me calling to ask, I was calling to ask clarification on certain
I
things. So
wasn't invited to
okay,
breakfast.
so I was, so yeah, Jason and Ken had met for breakfast too, so I just want people to sort of know that. But anyway, if we were to consider Squire Sanders and consider what Sally was trying to say, and I don't, again, that would have to be a conversation whether Squires and Sanders and whether O'Connor were willing to come together for that 75,000 and say, yes, we'll do this together. I'm not saying they won't be willing to do it, it's just a question that has to be asked.
Well, it would be nice if we could ask them to consider that, because the financial component is the component that everybody has questions about. And I think that, again, somebody familiar with village finances is in a much better position to help us get to the actual numbers, or get to better proposed numbers than we have from the historical numbers that we got from the finance.
Historical numbers is a nice term.
Hysterical, yes, and historical numbers that we got from the finance committee. And going back to what's it, CRG?
CGR.
CGR, see, the one thing I didn't like about CGR was they were simply adopting the financial component of the town-village consolidation committees.
That's what my concern is too.
And just kind of, you know, maybe working on them a little bit more, not doing any more work beyond that. I think that we need to have somebody else come in, bring that historic data forward, so we have something we really can look at to see if it makes financial sense to consolidate.
Okay. Let's just clarify one thing. The Finance Committee's job was not to propose a budget for the future. It was a snapshot. You went to a photo album and you looked at a picture.
I know that.
Okay, I just want to clarify because your comment could have been misinterpreted. I'm gonna move that we put the attorneys aside for a minute and that we hire O'Connor and Davies to do the accounting.
I wouldn't do that unless we know the lawyers will work with them, because then we have accountants and no lawyers. So I think we should ask the lawyers to interface a little bit with this accounting firm and see what they can come up with.
I will say, what I do have a concern about is the open-ended nature of some of the proposals from the perspective of, depending on how we engage them, and if there's going to be a lot of public meetings, which there probably needs to be, and we're going to engage their services in a lot of public meetings, and we know the New Paltz community, and
They'll be late.
more meetings than less meetings is probably what we need to do. As many meetings as possible is probably what we need to do. We're gonna have a lot of discussions over the details of the plan. My just concern is with an open-ended, basically, I think we can find ourselves with a lot of bills that we're not prepared for, and that's, somewhat scares me. So if we're going to move forward with any of these other firms that didn't give us a set cost, I think there has to be more conversations to try to get, some kind of understanding of the type of work, what do we expect and what do we expect from them? And it just can't be open-ended like that, because, we're just gonna keep scheduling meetings, and we're gonna be, and then what we're gonna have to do is tell them to come, 3 hours after the public comment, and then watch it on TV. We have to have some control, and it's gonna be out of control, and that scares me.
I mean, that's part of what I liked about CGR is it says that they plan to attend the required public hearings and serve in any capacity desired. They can facilitate the discussion or be available to answer technical questions. And they also say that if there is a desire to revisit the service configuration, CGR would be pleased to propose an expansion of the proposal for the fiscal analysis. So, if we want them to do more than just build upon what the Fair Weather Report has done, we can ask them for how much that would cost.
Well, they already said to do the financial part, they
I
broke
know,
it
but I'm
out.
saying, I know that, but they're saying if we want to expand upon that, which everybody's saying that they do, we can ask them to propose what that would cost if they expanded upon it. And we can give, if the hourly rate is broken down based on the $200 an hour, which is the average of the 195 and 205 of Tarshish and Katana, then it would be 145 hours for the 29,000 total. And so I don't know if that's something that we think is reasonable. I mean, Kevin, you said 50 to 100, that's just based on the legal?
That would be 29,000 at 200 an hour is 145 hours.
I know.
That, boy, that goes very quickly.
But you said something
I'd say
before about 50 to 100
50 to
hours.
100.
But 50
Just
to 100 writing the legals.
Drafting hours,
Drafting hours.
not hours out of the office. Drafting hours.
Not hours at board meetings.
No,
Or hours with the public.
or hours on the phone. Just drafting.
Okay, well, I think that we should interview these people and go through some of these things with them, because that's the only way we're going to get real answers. Because if we can sit here and speculate about how many hours we think it'll be, but then we need to know what people are willing to commit to, and if they would be at every joint board meeting or just at some sort of public forum sessions, or they said public hearings. When they say public hearings, I assume they know what a public hearing is, and that's not just our joint board meetings, So
No, but I think what they mean is the public hearing that's required prior to the referendum.
right,
And so that's really not a lot
exactly.
of interaction.
But they also say any capacity desired, which, we could be very demanding if they're saying that. I would love to see them at most of our meetings here to answer questions as we go and help facilitate these conversations. But, would that be an extra cost, or is that folded into the 29,000?
I think
I doubt it.
these are questions you can ask when you interview the firm.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying we should pick the ones we want to interview.
Right.
And I think that that's all we can decide tonight. I don't think we can decide whether or not to hire, a separate accountant until we do these interviews and see what these firms entail. And I think obviously we should schedule them as soon as possible.
I'm going to agree and disagree at the same time.
I'm shocked.
Are you shocked? Anyway, I think I would be interested in hearing from all of these firms if they can work with a separate independent accountant, because I think Kevin is right. So,
Well, wait, I have to interrupt to say that they obviously are willing to work with a separate, except for Squire Sanders, or it has to be a part of, in other words, Squire Sanders, if we were to call and say we want you to work with O'Connor, and then they could work it amongst themselves, I don't think that would be a problem. That's them working it out, not us working it out. Okay, so
No, but I do
independently
think
of that,
before-
I'm just saying independently, Sally, because they gave us the proposal, understanding they weren't going to do the financial, they don't have a problem. That's all I'm trying to say.
no, I'm trying to say the other. I'm not interested in, I don't think they have a problem, but I wouldn't want to have CRG down here for an interview if they would have a problem working with an independent
No,
accountant.
but I think I'm saying what I think they already know that because the proposal
broke it out.
was the proposal was to do the legal stuff, okay, A through whatever, minus the legal stuff, minus the financial stuff. And then we said, and then please give us a second proposal if you had to do the financial stuff. So everybody,
That's why they broke it out.
that's why it's broken
I
out.
understand, but I'm saying $14,000 for the kind of financial study we need is absurd. And therefore, I'm questioning their first proposal, because you can't come from Rochester and be at as many meetings as we know we need to have, and the work that we need to get done, I don't believe, I'll sit on, I don't believe that that fee is realistic. Now, so I would like to inquire of all of them, should you be chosen, can you work with, and what is your fee going to be to work with the accountants that we want? That's all. And if they say, gee whiz, we'd like to do our own, then I have a problem, because I think they should be separate.
Are you talking about CGR? Are you talking
I'm
about
talking
everybody?
about all of them.
She's talking
But
about
I
all
understand that, but they all gave us
They all
proposals.
split 'em out.
Of it being separate. That's why I'm.
No, they didn't.
So
Yes, they did,
for
except
for example, Tarshish,
Yes.
when it comes to the financial piece, their hourly rate was actually higher. It was 205.
Right. But I know that Tarshish has worked with O'Connor. They're both Orange County firms.
Well, I think almost all of them have worked with O'Connor.
So my point is, I agree with Ariana and Brian that we should interview, but we only should interview those people who have a working experience with O'Connor.
Do we know or not know if Jacobowitz and Gubitz has a working experience with O'Connor Davies?
I don't know that they do.
I don't either.
I can't imagine they
That's why
don't.
we're supposed to find out.
Well, that wasn't a question that was told to be asked of these people. We could have asked that if we wanted.
Well, I don't think we
They were the only
thought
people
about
that
it at
we.
the time.
I think we need to move to the next step,
Well-
which I would recommend that we interview 3 firms for the legal work, 2 to 3 firms for the legal work, and then make a decision.
Okay, what 3 are you recommending?
Well, back to Stewart's point, the lower of the 2 between Jacobitz and Gubitz and Tarshish hourly rate is actually less.
Right.
So I would go with them, Squires, and I would invite down CRG.
And one of the reasons you gave also was that the Jacobowitz and Gubitz is a great firm, but they're also representing the town in
That's
part now,
correct.
right?
Yes.
I'll second your motion.
For discussion purposes, I'm not going to. How do I do this?
Excuse me, but you can't say that my second is for discussion purposes. We can discuss it, but I moved to
I
second his
understand that, but so
motion.
you make a motion, then you discuss before you vote.
Right, but my motion is to second him, period.
I understand that, but
Okay.
seconds are always then
Okay.
discussion. My only concern, having spoken to some of these people when they brought the proposals in, some people are much more on top of understanding the citizen empowerment, and some people have no clue about it and had to go back afterwards and do research about it. That's all I'll say. Just seems to me if you're going to make a proposal, when the proposal said, here's the citizen empowerment, give us a proposal based on it, and then they didn't address it. Some people did, some people didn't. I just think you should be aware of the citizen empowerment
Okay,
grant.
Since it's a difference of 3 or 4, and since we're so good at getting our work done quickly, I think we ought to interview all 4 and be done with it. Can you accept that?
I was thinking the same thing.
Might as well, Kevin. We'll get home
Well,
at 3 o'clock in the morning instead of
let's, I
1.
mean, I would prefer
Well,
that than leaving
no.
out Jacobitz and Gubitz, but
I
I'm
don't
not
have-
sure Squire and Sanders will come in with it.
I don't have a problem with that.
Let's just do it.
Well, what if you interview them and they get 20-minute increments?
That's it.
20 minutes is not enough?
20 minutes is
Half hour.
plenty.
2 hours total.
Well, when we're interviewing them, we're not going to ask them to design the plan. We're going to ask them about their firm.
Right.
We're going to ask them about an
Their
end date.
experience.
We're going to ask them about how many hours. I think we can accomplish that in 20 minutes. Very focused. I mean, it's.
Especially if we can agree on our questions ahead of time. So that
Why are
all,
you laughing? Why
No,
are you
no.
laughing, Stuart?
Same reason I'm laughing.
the one thing I think we have to do is be fair. I think we have to be fair. And so I think every applicant needs to be asked exactly the same question.
I like that.
Well, that's a good idea, but, so, could we do this on a Saturday?
I'm fine. Fine with me?
Chris, is that time and a half for lawyers? Saturdays?
20-minute increments. Or could we have the interviews as the only business for the night?
Absolutely.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
No public comment, no public meeting. Motion to go into executive session for the purposes
Of
of
interviewing.
interviewing. Blah,
Oh,
blah, blah.
definitely.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I can.
Can we keep it to that where nobody starts throwing stuff on the agenda? Yes, I'm looking at you.
My only question to that would be,
Yep.
why does it have to be an executive session? I mean,
Oh,
we're
all right.
discussing it all in front of everybody, just that we're gonna have these interviews and everyone can watch, but we're not gonna be commenting with the audience. They
I
can
agree with
comment
you,
at a
Stuart.
future time.
I would agree with that, Stuart, as long as we do not entertain comment. Except from the applicants.
I think that we ought to reserve the right to go into executive session should it be necessary. We may want to ask about relationships with auditors. And I think public transparency is all wonderful and good, Stuart, but I don't think you practice law that way.
It may hurt somebody's chances.
I practice law that way if that's what the law says on that particular
Not
item.
with your clients. Kevin, what do you think?
I think I'll amend my motion to interview 4 firms that have provided proposals for providing legal work in connection with the project.
And I seconded.
How did that amend your motion?
I was talking about 3.
Okay, so I thought you'd already amended that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would, and I'm not asking you to amend, I just think that O'Connor and Davis should be invited to meet with the boards because the village board knows them, the town board doesn't, and I just think in
I
fairness.
think they should be invited. They'll have an opportunity to speak to the other law firms while they're here.
But I think they also, it might need to be indicated what we think the time commitment's gonna be.
True.
Well, I mean, actually, in the O'Connors, it's like a range from 20 to 40, and there's nothing wrong with us saying, can you just, agree to 30,000? Possibly, or I don't,
The thing is, these two boards will need to come to some kind of a resolution that, if they, I certainly can understand their preference to meet with 4 people, really. I
I don't
can.
think they said that. I think you are
No, no, no.
reading into
Steer-
something,
I'm not reading into when it literally says steering committee.
and then it says the committee. So I
It doesn't matter, we can clarify that. Gene, what's
Yeah.
the point that you're trying to make?
Should they come or should
That
they
was my
not?
point.
I
That
don't think they should.
I need clarification on O'Connor Davies because I feel like the board needs to be responsible.
I mean, I think it's important for them to come, because first of all, I don't know them, even though I was very impressed with what they wrote. I know everybody's very impressed with them, from Squire Sanders to you guys to whatever, but we don't know them. And I would like to say, ask questions, in terms of if, like, in other words, what is it, the difference between 20 and 40, it's like, what can we do to facilitate, to make sure
All
we're
right,
getting...
let's stop discussing it, amend the motion, I will include them. They're not meeting, the attorneys will interview them that same night, separate and apart.
Very good.
So you maybe second it?
Second.
Okay, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Let's
motion
find
so
a date.
carried. Now let's find a date, and then, of course, we have to make sure they can all make that date.
Well, if they don't make it, they don't get the business.
That makes
Good point.
I
Do-
don't think that's.
They'll make it.
Well, if they
They'll
can't,
make it.
well, I mean,
All right.
we are coming up to holidays pretty soon.
Yes, we are. Let's see. Passover is next Monday. Easter is the following. Good Friday is the Friday after Passover. How about April?
The Sunday after.
April 7th?
More important.
That's what I'm celebrating, actually.
What?
That's what I'm celebrating, Easter.
Well, just because, Sally, just because,
Oh, we have
Sally,
to account for Greek Easter too.
Sally, just because Passover's Monday,
Monday, the 25th.
no, I understand that, but you, and, I mean, it doesn't mean that it still couldn't be sometime next week.
It could
if
be
were.
next week. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, or
Why don't
Thursday.
you guys give me,
Transportation Implementation Committee.
Do we have a meeting?
we have a
Thursday.
meeting
Been
this
known to
Thursday
skip
and
that.
one next Thursday. I was hoping to try to get everything done this Thursday, but I don't know if it's gonna be too much.
So
I think we ought
But
to-
everybody reads their contracts and doesn't have any problem.
can we
Maybe
do it?
can-
I can't do it next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
I can do it Thursday.
Next
Thursday?
Thursday. I mean, we have a town board meeting next Thursday, but if I can move the contracts on, or I can move those following week, so we could try next,
28th?
well, I was trying to cancel
What
it
is
anyway.
next Thursday, the 28th?
28th.
It's the 28th. So we're gonna strive for next Thursday,
The 28th.
right?
And what's
And
the
then, which we know is
earliest?
available, which is available here, because we had a town board meeting, so that's
What's
easy.
the earliest everybody can make it?
I think we ought to start at 6:30.
I'm fine with that.
Can you do that, Jane?
Can you do that,
I
Jean?
don't know if I can do that. I
What's
don't
the
know.
earliest to
Well,
make you
I
come
don't-
for?
I don't know. First
7 to
week,
9:30?
first week is,
5 to
Okay, so-
7:30?
No,
Is
7
that
to
week-
you
9:30,
just
that's
proceed, you
fine,
just
right?
proceed.
7 to 9:30 is fine.
I mean,
No, I think you ought to go, I think you ought to do it a different way. 6:30, 20 minutes, 10 minutes to write your own summaries. Then the next one, 7 o'clock. So
Whatever.
6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30.
we don't know if Jean can make it that early.
Well, she's gonna try.
If we
And she'll
start,
tell us
if we
if
start
she
with
can.
O'Connor and Davis, then that probably doesn't matter, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
know
you
them.
know them. Oh,
I-
but you're the one
I
with
do know
questions.
them, but I am the one with the problem.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't you call them?
I could do that.
Why don't you call them and see if you're
Um,
comfy?
I'll
6,
tell you why,
6:30.
because I feel that this is a board decision,
Right.
not a Jean Galucci decision, not a, oh, Jean feels comfortable now, so everything's okay. No, this is a board decision.
You're the one with the question.
Yes, I am.
I don't
it
have
is.
the question.
I second that question. I
Okay,
think that that's a
all
good,
right.
it's a good thing to
If
clarify.
we started at 7, then we probably know that she could be here.
Could you be here? So, no, you don't even know.
I don't know, my audit is the first week in April.
We
So
can
there's
do-
no telling.
Would you
Just
rather us
go
just
ahead and
not
do
do,
it.
would you rather us just
No,
not do the
just
first
go
week and
ahead.
just,
No, the board needs to keep moving forward.
All right, so why don't we
So
start at
just go ahead
6:30
and
with
look.
an attorney, and then end at 8:30 with O'Connor Davies, and Jean would be here for sure for that. Hmm? Well, she can tell Susan what her preference, or who she wants to, I don't care who we see first.
starting at 6:30 then?
I'd say 6:30, 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, and we're done.
Okay.
Do,
and if, that's the 28th, can you pick another date after the 28th, just in case, because this is next week, that we're asking them to come, and that might
What
be a
is
little
that?
too soon.
I was also
So-
thinking
How about
we might
April
want to
Fool's
run the
Day?
date by Kitty and Jeff.
Well, you don't have to, no.
We
You
have a
don't-
meeting
You don't
here
have to worry
that
about the town board,
Oh,
because
oh,
we
we
already
do
have,
have a meeting.
we
Yeah,
already have a
okay.
meeting, so we're okay.
Yeah.
And you've got 4 of you here,
What
so,
about Jason?
well, that's,
I can email Jason.
okay.
He is sick, so that's why he's.
Does everybody want to just pick another date in case?
How about April Fools? I think it would do very well for us.
Aren't you having the finance?
I'm
meeting
fine with that.
tonight?
The finance committee's done.
Finance committee has not been announced.
4-1 is fine with me.
It said it on the village
What?
website, village calendar.
Oh,
The finance committee's done presenting.
My dear,
Oh, that's.
that's all
Dave
well and
Light.
good that it says it, but unless the
Dave
finance
said
committee
he wants
knows
to get,
about
he wants
it.
to get the committee together, and he wants us to come back out with another recommendation, but quite frankly, I'm not going to another finance committee
Oh,
meeting.
no, he wants to
And
buy
none's
you
been
ice
called for.
cream.
What?
He's gonna buy you guys ice
Anyway,
cream.
the village.
Was that what he was gonna do?
website, I believe,
None has been called for.
What?
4-1,
No-
is that?
No finance committee has been called for, has it, Art?
No.
We did 5 meetings, that's what we scheduled, that's what the notice is saying that I put up and everybody else put up with 5 meetings. Last Tuesday was the 5th meeting.
No, what Dave did say, Dave said at the last meeting, though, is he wanted the finance committee to go back
And do a summary
and do,
together,
us-
but that
and
hasn't
go back
been
and look at
called for.
everything, and
Nobody's called for it, that's what Dave said.
that's what Dave said, and I told Dave I wouldn't show up.
No, but
Somehow it got on the
my
village website.
point, my point is,
So we can make it
the
April
village
1st out.
website is wrong.
4-1?
Okay,
Basically, yes.
Thank you very much.
So 4-1 is what day?
And will you get it cleaned up?
Monday.
it's a Monday.
I tried.
Is anybody again, can we have April
I know,
1st?
yes.
Can we have April 1st as a fallback meeting in case?
I love April 1st, I think it's so perfect for us.
What
I think
time?
so, too.
6:30?
Same- It would be the
Same.
same exact thing, but it would be
6:30.
April 1st because again, if I call
6:30,
these law, if we
7.
call these law firms, the 28th is next Thursday, it's also a holiday week, so it might be too much for them. So we can see either the 28th or the 1st.
Is that anything on April 1st?
And if it has to be, we do some on the 28th and some on the 1st, we'll do that.
Fine.
Is that okay with everybody?
That's
Yep.
a Monday.
It's a Monday, yeah.
Okay, guys, do you get that?
Yes.
I'm gonna call, we're gonna email them for the 28th if they can all come, or fall back the 1st. If some can come the 28th, some can come the 1st, we'll just do it those 2 nights, we'll do it over those 2 nights.
You wanna do it that way?
Well, it just might be, to get them next Thursday, being that it's next week, it is a holiday somewhat week, it might be hard for some of them. We have April 1st, the 28th
I'll
and
be
April 1st.
easy.
We have the 28th and the 1st, we'll try to get it all in one night, but if you can't, I would like the freedom to schedule them over 2 nights to get it done.
Do it.
Thank you.
And so, but we're meeting at 7.
6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
And are we, is the 1st available here? Okay, great. So I have a motion to get in touch with all the attorneys and the O'Connor and Davis to come
Well,
meet with the,
CRG are not attorneys.
well, to meet with
Remember,
the,
please.
They have an attorney on
They have
staff.
one.
They have an
no, it's not on
attorney.
staff, they're gonna bring somebody in. We're going to ask all the people who put proposals in to meet with the joint boards on the 28th and a fallback the 1st, starting at 6:30. Do I have a motion?
Sure.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so
Aye.
carried. Brian?
Yeah.
Do you have a question, or are you just
No,
raising your
that
hand?
was my vote.
Okay, does anybody have anything else they want to say, or can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Don't we have public
No?
comment?
Oh,
I
right,
would
I'm sorry,
like-
we did have public
I would
comments.
like us to think about starting, I think it is very important for us as a joint board to talk with our fire department and to receive their input on how they view consolidation, because if you remember 3 years ago, I think it's 3 years ago, there was a whole movement to create a fire district. So I think we need to talk with our fire department, and I think we need to talk with our Downtown Business Association and our chamber at some point to get discussions going on what their concerns, what they want us to think about.
I agree.
Well, I think that's with a lot of people. I mean, I actually thought about
So-
inviting the fire company to a town board meeting to talk to us,
I think
but,
it behooves us to go to them.
It's fine.
And so I think we should do that and be prepared to set up a schedule of who wants to go, because I don't think we all have to go, but who wants to go, who wants to contact. I think we should go to Rotary. I think we
Well, there's a
should
lot
ask
more, but I
groups
mean-
to invite us to come.
I can tell you right now that there's groups in the town, for example, the Gun Club, who have great concerns about this consolidation possibility of being a townwide village, because the village government has noise ordinances. And the town residents are very afraid, like the Gun Club, that if we become a townwide village, there's an assumption that all the ordinances that are in place in the village just become inherently ordinances in the town, which is not the case.
The town noise ordinance and the village noise ordinances that currently exist are very similar. So, the
not-
proposed noise ordinance, which never got adopted or enacted, was quite different.
You mean the one that
Stuart.
you want to adopt?
Stuart?
The one we wanted to adopt.
Okay.
I would like,
All I'm just trying to say, Sally, is there's
Yeah.
concern and confusion with a lot of groups, not just the DBA, the fire department, and the chamber. I'm saying there's a lot of groups.
Well, then let's
And I
get
think
going.
we have to, as two joint boards, start to also think about how we're going to engage the town outside the village in this process, being that they also have to vote for this.
well,
But I think that's my point, Susan. I think we ought to stop talking about it and get going.
Stuart?
It's the only way.
I already did make a phone call today to set up the, just for a point, I did make a phone call today to set up I talked to Jonathan Drapkin from Patterns of Progress, just so everybody knows, to try to get a forum going with people from outside of our community who have expertise in consolidation to give us a 10,000-point view instead of the view on the ground, and to start to talk to us about, what's going on in the state and reasons for or against consolidation, and get some other experts to come in and start talking to us to just have a little bit more
Well,
conversation with just
I'm
ourselves.
gonna be more optimistic than you, and I'm gonna hope after November, we're gonna go teach people.
Stuart?
Go ahead.
Do you like that, Jane?
I'm certainly not opposed to going out to speak to everyone, but I think you have to look at the fire company as a unique organization. And if you look at the report from the steering committee and the discussions that have gone on since then, the volunteer fire company is one of the pillars of the decision to have a townwide village operating principally as a village. So I think it's really important that we have their input and they understand what's going on and we know what they have to say, because they're a very important part of what's going to happen. Not that any of these other groups aren't, but this is actually part of the village government, and we need to hear from them.
Well, I think,
Well, I move to adjourn. Are we having public comment?
yes, we are, so why don't we have public comment and then we'll adjourn. So, public comment, anybody like to speak?
For a public comment before you adjourn, thank you. That's a good way. The gentleman, I don't know who was his name.
Can you just try to talk into the microphone, Don?
The gentleman who was here at the beginning of the meeting,
Randolph
Oh,
Horner.
Randolph Horner.
yeah, he was, it was rather interesting to watch. He was, actually seemed like he was trying to slow the process down, to the frustration of some people on the board. He used the word best practices, and I just as a, for whatever it's worth, the Board of Education, for example, has always had some long-standing best practices. Unless a document is in the packet and people can review it 4 days before they get to a meeting table, there's no discussion on that. That didn't quite happen. You got a document, it seemed like it was a pretty important document at the table. People got a chance to read it at the table.
No, everybody got it over the week, everybody got it, they just didn't choose to, everybody had it. And just so I can clarify, okay, we had authorized him to do the grant, he did the grant, and he got the grant in. What hadn't happened was an actual resolution. So he had called last week to say he needs a resolution. I said, just draft it up, get it to us. He sent it to all the board members over the weekend. I was the one who wasn't able to find it, and I had to go up and find my copy. And so it wasn't like he was trying to slow it down. He was just trying to say, if we weren't ready, we didn't have to do it tonight. We could do it at different meetings, but the point was, it
We
was
already
just a
did it.
resolution to ratify what we had already done, so there was no problem for us to take care of it tonight, that's all.
It did appear from the audience that most people were seeing.
I know
reading
that
it
that's,
for the
well,
first time.
but I'm just, again, like I was
Thank
gonna
you for
say, you
clarification.
weren't at the last meeting when we discussed, when he told us we needed it, and then all the emails that went back and forth between the boards about it, so,
Well, the main thing I wanted to just speak about tonight, I'll try and be really brief. The roads aren't that bad, at least the main roads out there. I'd just like to request a change in tactics. There has been a pattern of what I have perceived, others have perceived as threatening or bullying language with regard to the police budget. And I just don't think that tactic is serving you well. And I think people react very poorly to that sort of language. And I understand that in addition to some of the earlier statements that have been made, that there have been discussions about not funding the police for the Little League Parade and for the regatta. And there have already been very severe, well, I don't know, there already have been cuts to the Newport Youth Program. And just the optics of that are just very poor. You know, the town board has seen clear to award raises and stipends to adults, but you're threatening not to have police coverage at the Little League Parade. These tactics are not going to serve the process well. They don't serve you well, and I just wanted to make that observation. It's not the right way to go about things, in my humble opinion.
The village board does not have any governance over the police department, and I think your comments are inappropriate for the joint board because they should be addressed to the town board if you have concerns.
And I'm not going to get into it now. You can come to Thursday's meeting because we'll be discussing it, but your information is not necessarily totally complete in terms of being correct. And discussions are happening with a lot of the organizations in terms of the cost for some of these. I mean, a decision had been made by the town board, let me put it this way. A comment had been made by some village board members, maybe not who's here or here, regardless, the village streets are the village, and the town can't tell them what to do. And they have the authority to approve parades, but the town board has to pick up the cost of the police overtime for stuff we haven't authorized and we might not have in our budget. So it's a broken process, because you can't have somebody spending somebody else's money. So therefore, the process of how we approve these parades has to be changed. The town board did say that we would pay for the Memorial and the Halloween parade, and the village had the right to approve all the other parades, but there was a cost associated with the police overtime, and so approve the parades and figure out the cost and figure out how you're going to pay for it. That was a decision that was made. However, it hasn't been, quote, implemented. Some of the groups have come, and some of the groups are saying, if it costs that much, like, for example, for the Little League Parade, which is really basically about 20 minutes for them to walk down the street and get to Hasbrook Park, but you have to bring in the police for overtime for over 2 hours, the cost is $1,400 for the police for a Little League Parade. The cost for the regatta for the police is close to $2,000. The cost for the Pride Parade is $1,400. So there's real implication when one governing body approves a parade, but the other governing body has to come up with the money, and it might not be in our budget. So then what do? Tell the police to cut back on other things because we have to cover this cost? It's a broken process that we're trying to fix. So it's not like the town board wants to be the org that says, okay, Little League kids, you can't march down the street. We just can't have one board approving things with the other board picking up the cost. And so therefore, we're trying to clarify a process that is problematic, and that's what we're trying to do. And some of the associations, because I've talked with the people from the regatta, I've talked to the people from the Baseball Association, they actually understand it, and they have said that they're willing to work with us to try to find a way, like maybe the Little League kids just end up going straight to Hasbrook Park and they don't march down the street because they understand $1,400 for police might be a little bit too much money and they don't want to put that on the community. And if it was $500, they'd be willing to pay for it, but at that kind of money, it's maybe too much. And maybe at $500, they don't even think the parade's that important. So it's a matter of having conversations with the people who ask for these services so they understand the implications, because then most of them are saying, we understand, we get it, so let's work together because maybe we don't need to have the parade if that's what it costs. So it's not a matter of the town being the ugly org and saying to the kids, we don't care about you. My kids were in baseball also, and I went to many of the events with my kids, and I marched in the Pride Parade, and I gave money to take back the night, for them to be able to march and whatever. It's a matter of that the economy right now is not good, the budgets are really tight, at least this town board, okay, versus the school board, or versus, for all due respect, the village board, okay, we didn't even go into our budget process saying we're going to override the 2% cap. We started saying 0% to minus 10%. We'll work from there, and we reduced taxes 4.4. So all I'm just trying to say is we're not trying to basically say, we're trying to manage the costs, and we're trying to work with everybody to hold costs down. And the organizations that you spoke to are on the phone with me and don't necessarily have a problem with what we're trying to do. So we'll figure out, it's on our agenda for Thursday night to talk about parades and events. It's on our agenda to talk about how the town board wants to approach the village board in this upcoming budget cycle, about what we'd like to see, and hopefully we'll continue to have the conversations.
And another good reason to consolidate these two governments. I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
It is chilly
Well, wait a minute.
to make a public comment.
Well, wait a minute.
Swat it down like that by members of the board.
No,
I've
I'm
got-
sorry, I'm sorry.
I've
You know what,
got-
Don, you said, Don.
Don, you
Other
don't,
person.
Don,
No,
Don,
Don.
your comments were listened to, but your information is not correct. And so,
If I was a less experienced
so-
person, I would never come to a board meeting
Don,
again and speak.
Don, I'm
It's so
sorry,
irritating.
sorry you feel that way, Don. Don, I'm sorry you feel that way.
We have a motion to.
Ira has,
Oh,
Ira
Ira,
has something
sure,
to
please,
say.
go ahead.
One thing I would like to say is that in regards to these fees, last year, the police commission looked over the cost of the police for non-New Paltz situations, where people coming from the outside, because they can't do these parades where they are, they're not allowed, and we can't charge for them. So the police commission had recommended fees, permit fees. So instead of $50 or $20, in some cases, I mean, the town board didn't, looked at it and they understood it, but we were looking at fees anywhere from the neighborhood of $1,500 to $1,600, depending upon the police cost. If you can't have a parade in your village or town, and you come to New Paltz because, the village will approve anything, and that's fine, I have no problem with that. But why should the town residents have to pay for it? And we came up with some ideas about certain things where it involves the whole town and village. Yeah, that should be considered something that should be done, because everybody participates. But when you have 20 people participating and the cost is $1,600, the commission said, no, these fees should be more. And I just want to say that has nothing to do with the town board saying, no, we're not gonna do it, we don't wanna do it, because the commission had even recommended this. And I just wanted that to be made clear too. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Anybody else like to speak? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion so carried, thank you. Do you want to say something, Brian, or is that just you?
My lord, it's 20 after 9. What are we gonna do with our time?
We're gonna get ice cream.
I think the town board